Hi everyone, how are you doing today? I'm doing really well, actually. As you can see, I have been given the inspiration to work on Henry again for a while. Who knows how long that will last, but for the time being, I'm going to work on him while I have the motivation, so I figured I would go ahead and try to do a stitch with me while I attempt to stitch some confetti. We'll see how that goes. As you can hear, there's a lot of birds out. I don't know if you can actually hear or not. I can hear that there's a lot of birds outside singing and chirping. It's a beautiful sunny day today. It's a cool day, not too hot compared to what we've had in the last week or so. So I think the birds are really happy that it's a nice, comfortable day to be outside and have some singing going on. I think they're also happy because they just got some nuts that Geo decided to share with them. So that might be they might be a little ecstatic about that. He's on the porch right now eating some of the nuts that his friend from one of the channels provided him. And his new thing is now that I purchased some chairs to put out on the balcony, whenever he comes up to ask for food, he now sits on top of the back of the chairs, and if I'm watching TV or FlossTube, he sits there and watches FlossTube with me. He's probably thinking, what the heck are you watching? But he will sit there and watch for a while before he starts begging. So I think that's kind of cute and fun. But it's I've tried to get a picture of that so y'all can see, and it is very hard to do. So as you can see, I'm working on a very confetti heavy page of Henry in the center here of his tunic or his shirt. Because this is so confetti dense, it's really hard to tell the differences in colors once you get it stitched up. So, but right now there's in the confetti part, there's mainly two colors stitched here. And then, of course, there's the black and the 3371 over here. And then I did do a couple columns of the 3371 into here. I still need to finish the 3371 into the rest of the page, but it wasn't a significant enough color to do it this time, just because. And for the Stitch With Me video, I'd be sitting here looking at the page, and I'd probably be browsing the chart more than I would be stitching, so it wouldn't lead to a very enjoyable video to watch for those of you that actually watch the Stitch With Me's. I am stitching Henry on 28 count white Lugana 1/1, and I do really like this count of fabric for the full coverage. Again, this is the very first full coverage I've ever done, so this is my only experience with doing a full coverage. So, but I like the 1/1 just because I prefer 1/1 now with anything I do, or 1 over whatever. I like working with one thread. You don't have to worry about threads laying correctly or any of that jazz, but also just because it uses less fiber, so it does cut down on the cost of kitting up the project. Not significantly, because the pattern calls for 25 count, so it's not going to cut down on it so drastically that you save a whole lot, but it does help. And I also like the look of it. I just like the way it looks better than what I've seen personally, my personal opinion, and no one get offended if you do it other ways, because everyone is welcome to their own opinion. I prefer the look of a 28 count. I also just like the look of a smaller picture. I don't need a huge massive piece hanging on the wall whenever it can be a little bit smaller. I do full for these heavy confetti pages. I do cross country across the entire page. So I will pick one color for the most part and do that entire color the entire way across the page. How I do that is I will start with a 10 by 10 square, or however the pattern is laid out, depending upon how the page is laid out. So I will go in sections and work that section, and then I will move to the next section on the page and work that section of that color until I have the entire page done for that color. And the first couple colors take the longest amount of time, just because it's the most time consuming for counting. Once you get that basic framework of, the first couple colors, I pick the ones that are the most prominent on the page. So then once I get those ones in, it's almost like a scaffolding. So once I have those ones in, it's almost like stitching in a grid, while it's not a standard 10 by 10 square grid. It's a grid that I can then use to base the other stitches off of, because then I have my stitches also highlighted on my pattern. So that's why you can see I'm going fairly quickly finding, and I'm saying that and I'm probably going to jinx myself now, but I'm going fairly quickly finding the other stitches now, because I have that basic grid that I can use to guide myself. It's kind of like how the The sailors of the early days would use stars to navigate themselves across the oceans. They use those stars to navigate them during the night. And it's the same way. I use that to guide my stitches. Now, do I get mixed up? Of course. Do I have to pull out stitches? Yes. Yesterday when I started stitching again, I realized that I thought I had the one color, the entire bottom half stitched wrong. Thankfully, it was only 2 stitches that were wrong, and I just had to pull those out and restitch those 2 stitches. But I'm glad I caught them early, so I didn't have to fudge that whole section of the page. Now, I know many people are going to ask, well, why don't you just grid your fabric before you start stitching? I could do that, but I get impatient and I just want to start stitching. And to me, that's a lot of time and effort to do something that you're eventually going to pull out, and I don't mind counting. It just takes a little bit longer whenever you first get those first few stitches in. And for the most part, and I say this lightly because so I don't jinx myself, for the most part, I don't usually have a counting issue. So now, because this page is basically confetti across the entire page, what I will do is go with the color. I will either go an entire 10 or 20 block. I will pick either 1 or 2 10 block sections and go the whole way across, and then I will come down and go the whole way back across, and then just keep going until the whole way down. Which is basic. I think I just did across. I basically did 2 10 block squares. I just have to finish these bottom 2 squares right here. Just did these. And I don't mind confetti, but I have to really be in the mood for it. And lately, I think just with everything going on at work, and I just haven't really been, I've been wanting to work on my, I guess, I don't want to say easier, but less, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me, allergies. So, where was I getting at? So, not that confetti is any harder. It's just it's more thinking. At least for me, it is. Now, where am I at? Because I started sneezing, I lost my train of thought. One, two, three, four. Aha, there we are. Okay. I did that one already. But sometimes it's really enjoyable because it's like over time, it doesn't, if I sit down and really focus on these, on a page, I can have a page of confetti done in maybe a week to a week and a half, depending upon the amount of time I have to work on it. And it's kind of fun to watch as the page fills in and you see the picture take shape as you're doing the confetti, because like right now it just looks like a bunch of blobs on a page in a sea of white on the fabric. But once everything gets filled in, as you can kind of see up here, it really takes on a shape, you know, you see the picture as a whole. And it's a lot of fun. What did I just do? I did that. I have to do one more. I've also tried the parking method, and for me, I just can't wrap I don't know. I have a hard time working that way. And it makes logical sense, which is hard for me to process because I'm a very logical person. And I would think that I would wait a minute, what did I not do? Because I'm a logical person, I thought I would enjoy parking a lot better because it's very methodical and everything is there and you just work your way down the page. But I really struggle with that. A lot of it is the messiness, and again, don't get offended by my saying this. This is just my personal views of the technique. I can't handle that many threads being started on the same page at the same time. It's just too messy and cluttered. I get confused by which strand is which. It's just too much chaos, organized chaos for me to process and handle. But I'm happy that it works so well for so many of you. Where was I just then? Here we are. I hope you are all doing well. I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, for liking and subscribing, and continuing to share with all of your friends in the stitching world my channel and getting it out there. You have all been a great support. I continue to get messages on Instagram showing your appreciation for the channel and thoughts about possible topics. Again, if you have any topics you would like me to discuss in my Monday videos, things you would like to see, I do have a list of a few things to discuss. I need to have some time. It's just been a very busy time to get around to. I will get to some of those, but I also am looking for other topics. So if you have topics of interest you would like to see me discuss, or topics that you would like to have me discuss in my video, in my Stitch With Me videos, just because it's hard to find things to talk about every week. So for me, I know other people find it very easy to talk for a half hour. But I would love to know what you would like to have me talk about. But anyways, I'm going to let you go and finish out the music, and because there's been great response to my music for the Stitch With Me video, I'm going to finish this floss, and then I am going to get on to working on more confetti. So I thank you again for liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, and all of your support. Keep on stitching, enjoy your week, and don't forget to always be creative.